You know, that feeling, like you're just sort of coasting,
Mm-hmm.
going through the motions, checking things off, but maybe not really feeling present or truly connected.
Yeah, that autopilot mode. It's a very real experience for a lot of people. That feeling of being carried along instead of actively, steering.
Right. And it makes you wonder, what does it actually mean to live a life that feels actively lived? You know, a life that feels genuinely meaningful, really engaged.
That's the core question, isn't it?
It is. And you've shared this fantastic stack of sources with us on this exact thing. Articles, research notes, all exploring the best ways to shift from that autopilot to real engagement.
Yeah, it's a rich mix. It pulls from, psychology research, some really practical how-tos, even a bit of philosophy in there, different angles.
So our goal for this deep dive is to really sift through all of that, cut through maybe the noise, and pull out the absolute key nuggets, the most important stuff. We want to give you a clear picture of what this engaged life actually looks like, according to these sources, and crucially, why they say it matters so much.
And the practical steps, too, how you can actually start, cultivating it. We want to draw out those common threads, the things that keep popping up.
Exactly. Synthesizing the wisdom that's packed in your materials, highlighting the ideas that can hopefully make a real difference for you.
Yeah, let's dive in.
Okay, let's do it. So where do we start? Maybe with defining it. What is an engaged life based on these sources?
Good place to start. So at its heart, it seems to be about active participation. It's about presence, having a sense of purpose, and really importantly, connection.
So not just existing, but actually participating, fully involved.
Exactly. The opposite of just, letting life wash over you. And a huge piece of this, mentioned again and again, is intentionality.
Ah, right. I saw that too. It's not passive, is it? It seems to demand like conscious choices where you put your time, your attention, not just reacting all the time.
Totally. That intentionality is crucial because, and this is encouraging, the sources are pretty clear. Engagement isn't some fixed personality trait you either have or don't.
Oh, interesting. So it's learnable.
Yeah, they often describe it more like a skill, something you can actually practice and, get better at.
Right.
And one really helpful idea that came up was this distinction between toward moves and away moves.
Toward and away moves.
Yeah, toward moves are those actions, big or small, that line up with what you actually value, what you want your life to be about. Away moves are, well, the opposite: avoidance, procrastination, getting distracted, things that pull you away from what matters.
So an engaged life is kind of built on stacking up more of those toward moves.
That's the idea, making more conscious choices in that direction.
Okay, that makes sense. It's active, it's intentional, it's skill-based.
Yeah.
But why put in the effort? What do the sources say are the actual benefits here?
Oh, the payoff they describe is pretty significant. These practices, this way of living, it's linked to some really powerful outcomes.
Like what?
Well, things like increased life satisfaction, big time. There was that Vela Broderick study mentioned in the notes. Engagement was the #1 predictor of life satisfaction out of like thousands of people.
Wow, number one.
Yeah.
That's huge. That really puts a fine point on it.
It really does.
Oh.
And it's not just satisfaction, though. The sources connect being engaged to less stress, more feelings of gratitude, hope, better self-esteem, just general happiness, and feeling more vital, alive.
Vitality, yeah.
It's framed as a way to break out of negative cycles,
Yeah.
and consciously move towards becoming, as some put it, your best self.
So it's deeper than just being busy or productive. It's about feeling fully well, mentally, emotionally.
Precisely.
Okay, that's compelling. So let's get practical. Where do you start? What are the foundational practices that kept coming up across all these different sources? It felt like understanding yourself was step one.
Exactly. And the absolute most consistent starting point, the foundation highlighted everywhere, was clarifying and then actively living your values.
Values. Why is that seen as so critical, like the bedrock?
Because your values, they act as your internal compass, your guide. Knowing what truly matters to you gives you direction, it fuels your motivation,
Oh, okay.
and it acts as a filter. It helps you make decisions. It makes choosing those toward moves we talked about much, much clearer instead of just guessing.
Right. So how do you actually do that? How do the sources suggest you figure out and then live by these values?
Well, it starts with reflection, really asking yourself, what's genuinely important to me deep down? Not what I think should be important or what others say. Thinking about qualities, people, how you want to behave, activities that feel meaningful. And then a really practical tip from several sources. Write them down.
Actually write them.
Yeah. And keep them visible. Like, stick them on the fridge, the bathroom mirror, somewhere you'll see them every day. It sounds simple, but it helps keep them top of mind.
Keeps it concrete, maybe.
Exactly. Some sources also mention using like structured values clarification exercises if you need a bit more help getting started. It's about making what's usually implicit explicit.
Making the implicit explicit. I
Yeah.
like that. Okay, values are foundational. What else was consistently highlighted right alongside that?
The other big one was cultivating presence and mindfulness. This came up constantly in the material you shared.
Right, being present. Why is that so essential for being engaged?
Because, well, engagement can only happen now, in the present moment. Being mindful, being present, it anchors you right here.
Instead of ruminating or worrying.
Exactly. It cuts down on all that mental energy leakage, rehashing the past, stressing about the future. It lets you actually connect fully with what's happening, good or bad, whether it's something enjoyable you want to savor or maybe a challenge you need to deal with clearly.
Okay. And how can you actually build that presence muscle day to day? The sources had some really down-to-earth suggestions, didn't they?
Yeah, they definitely went beyond just recommending, sitting down for formal meditation, though that's obviously a great tool for many.
Right.
They talked a lot about weaving mindfulness into things you already do, like mindful showering, just noticing the feel of the water, the temperature, or mindful eating, really tasting your food, noticing texture, smells.
Using your senses more.
Absolutely. Mindful walking, paying attention to the sights, sounds, the feeling of your feet on the ground, instead of just being lost in your head. Or even just taking a moment for mindful appreciation, pausing to genuinely feel grateful for something, however small.
So it's about grounding yourself in the physical sensations of the moment. It makes presence feel, well, more achievable than maybe just thinking about being present.
Yeah, and it's also about learning to kind of observe your thoughts and feelings without automatically getting swept away by them, not judging them, just noticing.
Creating that little bit of space.
Exactly, that space between the stimulus and your reaction, so you have a chance to choose how you respond rather than just reacting on that old autopilot.
Okay, so values give direction, presence grounds us. Got it. What about the doing part? Engaging with activities with the world.
A really key area here is seeking out activities that get you into a state of flow.
Ah, flow. That feeling of being completely absorbed, right?
Exactly. Where the challenge of what you're doing sort of perfectly meets your skill level. The sources describe it as being so engrossed that you lose track of time.
Yeah.
It's often demanding, requires your full attention, but it leads to this deep sense of satisfaction and, well, engagement.
What kind of things typically trigger flow? Did they give examples?
It varies hugely from person to person, of course, but common examples were things like creative work, playing sports, really diving deep into learning a new skill, maybe complex problem solving, anything that really captures your focus and stretches you a bit.
So it's tied into pursuing passions and interests, things that naturally absorb you.
Very much so. But engagement isn't only about finding those peak flow moments, is it? The sources also stress taking action even when it's difficult.
Right, that committed action piece. It's not just about knowing your values or being present. You actually have to do things.
Precisely. It's the crucial step of acting in line with your values, even when it brings up discomfort or fear, or maybe just boredom.
That sounds hard.
Yeah.
How do they suggest building that muscle for acting despite discomfort?
A big theme was starting small. Really small sometimes. Like the idea that even committing just 5 minutes or maybe 20 minutes to face something you've been avoiding, that can start building momentum.
Little steps.
Yeah, little toward moves. It builds resilience and self-efficacy, that belief that you can actually do things. It's not about being fearless. It's about acting with the fear or discomfort.
Okay, starting small makes it feel less daunting. I also saw something interesting about finding joy even in mundane tasks.
Yeah, that was a neat angle in one source. Finding ways to inject a bit of engagement into stuff you have to do anyway, like setting little mini goals for yourself within the task, or even using your imagination, like fantasizing about the positive outcome or feeling of accomplishment afterwards.
Finding the game in it, almost.
Yep.
Okay, what about keeping your mind engaged generally, not just in specific tasks?
That ties directly into embracing curiosity and having a growth mindset. The sources really emphasize this. Staying curious keeps your mind flexible. It stops you getting stuck in ruts.
Prevent stagnation?
Exactly. And it opens you up to unexpected discoveries and insights.
So how do you actively cultivate that? Just decide to be curious.
It's more about cultivating openness. being willing to explore new things, new ideas, different perspectives, maybe reading widely, asking more questions instead of just accepting things. Trying out new hobbies or skills, even if you're not sure you'll be good at them.
Stepping outside the comfort zone a bit.
Yeah, definitely. And engaging with viewpoints that might be different from your own. A big part of it, too, is reframing challenges. Instead of seeing them just as roadblocks, trying to view them as opportunities to learn something new, to grow.
That growth mindset piece again. Seeing challenges as learning opportunities. That connects back nicely to building the resilience needed for that committed action stuff.
It all weaves together, doesn't it?
It really does. And speaking of keeping things fresh, spontaneity came up too, right? Breaking routines.
Yes, absolutely. Injecting a bit of spontaneity and variety, it can really shake things up and boost energy. Simple things like trying a new food, listening to completely different music, taking another route home from work.
I remember seeing some really fun, almost quirky suggestions for sparking this in the everyday.
Yeah, there are some great ones like pretending your life is a murder mystery just to encourage yourself to notice more details around you.
Huh, okay.
Or taking a minute to plan a fantasy vacation in your head. Or even just changing the lyrics to some annoying earworm song stuck in your head to make it funny instead of irritating.
Playful ways to jolt yourself into noticing things differently, pretending life's a mystery. That's definitely a memorable way to practice presence.
It certainly is.
Did the sources talk about balancing that spontaneity with, the need for some structure?
They did touch on that nuance. It's not about throwing all routine out the window and living in chaos. It's more about intentionally breaking out of unthinking habits now and then, injecting novelty where you can, while still having the stability you need, finding that right balance for you.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've covered engaging with yourself, values, presence, and engaging with activities. And the world flow, action, curiosity, spontaneity. What about the social side? Engaging with other people.
Oh, absolute fundamental. Building and nurturing strong, authentic connections. This was a huge theme across pretty much everything. Humans are social creatures, fundamentally.
Right.
Our relationships are just core to our well-being, our sense of engagement, and they're a vital source of support.
So how do you make those connections more engaged, more meaningful, according to the sources?
A lot of it comes down to prioritizing quality time. And when you are with people, being fully present, that means, putting the phone away, resisting distractions.
Being present again.
Yes. And practicing active listening, really trying to hear and understand the other person, not just waiting for your turn to talk or formulating your response while they're still speaking.
That's a hard one sometimes.
It is. It takes practice. Also showing genuine interest, being willing to share appropriately vulnerability came up, and expressing gratitude within those relationships, letting people know you appreciate them.
That mindful presence, but directed outwards this time.
Okay. And what about connecting beyond just our close circle? Did that come up?
Yes, the idea of connecting with something larger than yourself, contributing in some way.
Why is that important for engagement?
It provides a sense of purpose and meaning that goes beyond just your own personal satisfaction or struggles. It's a powerful antidote to feeling isolated or like your life lacks broader significance.
So how might someone do that? What kind of things count?
Oh, it can take so many forms. Contributing time or resources to causes you believe in, volunteering, mentoring someone, getting involved in your local community, or even just initiatives at work. Sharing your skills or talents.
Acts of service. Exactly. And the sources often noted this interesting reciprocal effect. The person giving or contributing often gets just as much, if not more, out of it in terms of well-being and engagement as the person receiving.
That positive feedback loop.
Yeah.
Okay, now, all these practices, being present, taking action, connecting deeply, contributing, they sound great, but honestly, they also sound like they require energy. Mental energy, physical energy.
They absolutely do. And that's why the sources heavily emphasize the need to support your engagement. It's not just about the doing, it's about having the foundation to be able to do it.
Right. So what supports are crucial.
The biggest one is prioritizing self-care and overall well-being, both physical and mental. This isn't framed as like an optional luxury. It's presented as non-negotiable, foundational.
Because it's hard to be engaged if you're exhausted or unwell.
Exactly. You simply can't pour from an empty cup. So self-care isn't selfish in this context. It's what enables everything else.
What does that look like practically?
Things like ensuring you get regular physical activity and, importantly, activity you actually enjoy. Doesn't have to be hardcore exercise. Gardening, dancing, walking all count. Getting enough sleep, that's huge. Basic good nutrition.
The fundamentals.
Yeah. And also proactively managing stress, knowing when to seek professional help if you need it, and learning to set boundaries to protect your time and energy. Saying no sometimes.
Boundaries.
Right.
That's a big one for energy. Okay, what else supports our ability to stay engaged?
Another powerful support practice mentioned is consciously cultivating gratitude and savoring positive experiences.
Gratitude. Okay. How does that help engagement specifically?
It actively shifts your focus.
Mm-hmm.
Our brains often have this negativity bias, right? Focusing on what's wrong or missing. Gratitude deliberately directs your attention to what's good, what you do have, what's working. It enhances appreciation for the present moment.
And amplifies joy.
Definitely. And savoring is closely related, but slightly different. It's about consciously pausing to really absorb a positive experience when it happens.
So not just noticing something good, but really soaking it in.
Yeah. Like deliberately paying attention to the warmth of the sun on your skin for a few extra seconds, or really focusing on the flavors in a delicious meal, or holding on to the feeling of connection after a good chat with a friend.
Instead of just rushing on to the next thing.
Exactly. Stops those good moments from just whizzing by unnoticed. It makes them count more.
That feels like a really powerful, simple practice. And speaking of things that make life whiz by, digital distraction must be a huge barrier to all of this presence and engagement stuff.
Oh, massively. The sources definitely highlighted managing your digital consumption mindfully as a critical support practice now. Unchecked phone use, endless scrolling. It's described as a major obstacle to being truly present with the real world, real people, real experiences.
So the advice is basically put the phone down more.
Pretty much, but with intention. Setting clear boundaries around technology use. Things like no phones during meals, or maybe having phone-free times or zones in the house. Turning off all those non-essential notifications that constantly fragment your attention.
Those little pings.
Right.
Yeah.
Being more conscious about curating your feeds. What information are you actually letting in? Does it add value or just drain you? And even scheduling regular, deliberate periods of digital detox. Taking breaks.
Turning off notifications. Seems so simple, but could make such a difference to focus. Okay, this whole framework values presence, action, connection, self-care. It feels robust. But life happens, right? What about when you inevitably slip up or fall back into that autopilot mode?
Yeah, that's where the section on addressing challenges comes in, and it's crucial. A key practice here is embracing imperfection and, really importantly, practicing self-compassion.
Self-compassion. Why is that singled out?
Because perfectionism and that harsh inner critic, they are massive energy drains. They kill your motivation to even try engaging because you're afraid of not doing it perfectly, afraid of failing.
That makes sense. It paralyzes you.
It really can. So the advice is to try and consciously talk to yourself like you would talk to a supportive friend who's struggling. Acknowledge that setbacks, mistakes, having off days, it's just part of being human. It doesn't mean you've failed entirely.
So focus on effort, not perfection.
Exactly. Celebrate the willingness to try, the effort you put in, rather than beating yourself up for not achieving some flawless ideal of engagement.
So it's really not about achieving some perfect state of engaged life and staying there forever.
Not at all. The sources consistently frame it as a continuous journey, a practice, not a destination you arrive at. There will be times you feel less engaged, where autopilot feels strong.
So what do you do then?
The advice is, notice it, kindly. Without harsh judgment, maybe gently reflect on what might be draining you or pulling you off course. And then make a conscious, gentle choice to steer back towards your values, towards these practices, even in a small way. Gently steer back. I like that. And I think one source even mentioned that sometimes. Deliberate disengagement, like zoning out with TV when you're genuinely wiped out, can actually be okay. Like a necessary rest.
Yes, exactly. It acknowledges the need for balance. It's not about being hyper-engaged and on 24/7. That's unsustainable. It's about the overall pattern, the general direction of intentionality and presence, not about achieving absolute perfection in every moment.
Okay. So if we were to try and boil everything down, looking across all these sources, what are the absolute core themes that just keep coming up again and again about living an engaged life?
I'd say the big ones are intentionality, making those conscious choices, agency, recognizing you have the power to influence your experience, connecting inward to yourself, outward to others, and maybe upward to something bigger, presence, being grounded in the here and now, and finally, cultivating a growth mindset, seeing life and yourself as constantly evolving and learning. Intentionality, agency, connection, presence, Growth mindset. That's a great summary. This deep dive has really pulled together a lot of useful threads into something pretty clear and actionable.
Yeah, it shows how these different practices all support each other, doesn't it? Drawing from self-awareness, our actions, our relationships, and how we take care of ourselves.
And the potential outcome feels really significant, moving from that feeling of life just happening to you towards actively living a life that feels richer, more meaningful, more connected.
Absolutely. It emphasizes that this isn't some vague, mystical thing. It's built on practical habits we can actually cultivate.
So by focusing on these areas, clarifying values, practicing presence, taking committed action, nurturing connections, embracing growth, prioritizing well-being, the idea is you really can build a life that feels more vibrant and, well, truly lived.
That's the core message running through it all.
Most of these sources, they really hammer home that living an engaged life is ultimately a choice, and it's a continuous practice.
Mhm.
It makes me think, maybe the deepest dive isn't just into what these practices are, which we've unpacked nicely,
Mm.
but into figuring out how to cultivate the will, maybe the courage to consistently choose them, especially when it feels hard or uncomfortable, or means letting go of those familiar, easy, maybe disengaging habits.
That's a powerful point, the choosing part.
Yeah, so maybe the question for you listening is, what might that commitment, that choice look like for you, starting today, even in just one small way?
A great question to reflect on.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We really hope digging into these sources has given you some valuable insights.
Yeah, hope it was useful. Until next time.